short time. So as a reminder, when we call on you, please remember to unmute your mic. We're going to start with Gary Smits, who has his hand up.
You got more people in the lobby.
Oh, they're coming in. Don't worry, Dave. I'm all over it.
You want me to go ahead,
Go ahead,
Chad?
Smitter.
Okay.
Yep, thank you.
Dave, could you address if you think Yannick changing his agents gives you any optimism that you can get him in camp? And also, could you address the difficulty of scouting and evaluating players if more conferences decide not to play college football next year?
Sure. As far as the Yannick situation goes, I think you'd have to talk to him. I'm very cautious of speaking for him. I know, he and I have been in contact the last couple of days, but I think that is for him to discuss. And, he's earned the right to he's played his contract out, and he's earned the right to do what's best for him and his family. So I'm going to defer any of his future questions to him and try to keep our conversations between he and I. And as far as the scouting goes, I'm anxious to see what the resolution of the college season is. And I know some conferences have canceled. There's talk of other conferences canceling. Obviously, it's we've done our homework on a lot of these guys already. So the players with a play history and a lot of video out there, we can make good educated decisions on. It'll probably hurt maybe some of the smaller school players or guys that like Kalavon Chason, who missed his sophomore year and came out junior. Maybe you'll see less juniors come out and then wait to play, their senior year.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Smitter. We'll go over to D-Rock. And DC, just remember to look at the camera when answering. Go ahead, D-Rock.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Dave. Yesterday, Leonard talked about that he may have gotten, maybe a bad rap in the press or just in general because he was unhappy with losing and, maybe didn't come off the greatest and sometimes in interviews and stuff like that, but that he's probably not the way he's portrayed. Do you agree with that? And, have you had talks with him after, the trade issues in the spring or the trade rumors in the spring?
Sure. I would agree with that. And it sounds like that's probably your responsibility, D-Rock, of portraying him the way you've portrayed him. But yeah, Leonard's in a good spot and we have had conversations and, I think he doesn't like losing like the rest of our players on our team and they all handle it in their own way. And I would agree with what he said yesterday.
Did you guys ever have a conversation, when after the trade stuff came out and, talk about, you're still part of the plans, that kind of stuff?
We did. We talked about not exercising his fifth-year option and that it's not necessarily a bad thing for him and that he has to have a great year and put his best foot forward.
How tough is it for guys that are essentially in contract years for a year like this where we don't even know if it's going to be a season. You don't know how long it is. I mean, this is generally a really big year for guys in that kind of situation.
Yeah, I think everyone's in their own individual situation. I think, for us as a team and an organization, we're in a good situation from a cap standpoint. And I know we have some guys that have contract expiring this year and we expect them to have great years and we'll be able to do whatever we need to do to keep the guys that we want to keep at the end of the year.
Thank you.
Thanks, D-Rock. Let's go to Jamal St. Cyr and then Hayes Carline.
Hey, Dave. The Jaguars have one of the youngest rosters in the league. Knowing that there's no preseason and how the offseason is, do you feel like that's going to make it tougher on the team? Would you have wanted to add more veterans if you knew what this year was going to be like going in?
Sure. And we did add some veterans. Obviously, some opted out in the last week or so. And but I like our youth. I like our guys, and I have a lot of faith in our coaching staff and how they're going to develop our young guys and our players. And I don't think it's necessarily a major issue being a young team this year. We did add some veterans and a guy like Tyler Eifert and Joe Schobert. So on both sides of the ball, we've got guys that are smart, competitive, good team guys, good leaders. So on top of that, we're returning a lot of our starting offense from last year, and guys have really kind of come in shape and they're doing well.
Thanks, Dave.
Welcome.
Thank you, Jamal. Let's go over to Hayes and then Demetrius.
Hey, Dave, what kind of progress have you seen from Gardner?
He's had a great offseason and he's coming in shape. He's really attacked the new offense under Jay, and he's done a hell of a job, and just kind of wait to see how this all unfolds. But I know he's got a good mindset, and his character and his work ethic has been really evident in how he's coming this offseason.
Great, thanks.
Thank you, Hayes. We'll head over to Demetrius and then Gene Fournette.
Hey, Dave. Obviously, these are unusual circumstances. You're not going to be able to maybe acquire a player as quickly as you normally would. How important is it for you guys to have this flexibility on the practice squad and things of that nature?
Yeah, well, bringing the practice squad to 16, I think, is been a great idea from the league and the PA, and having those guys, and really, it really puts the onus on us being able to develop our guys in house, and some of these rookies and young guys that we can put on the practice squad, and also we're going to be able to put some veterans on the practice squad too. So the more players you have, especially in a time like this, is better, and to have really good kind of bench depth.
Thank you.
Thank you, Demetrius. We'll go to Gene and then Mark Long.
Hey, Dave. Just wondering, as the season was approaching its end, did you anticipate turning over the roster as much as you did over the course of the next month or two? Yeah,
to be honest with you, it was always really kind of planned, maybe even further back than that, and the preceding year, as we knew that we'd have to take a step back and have a little bit of a youth movement. And, going into the 19 season, I think that was always kind of the plan. We felt like when we built the team going into 17, that we'd be able to kind of keep the team together for a good 2-3 years. And then this would be the year where we would kind of, possibly turn the team over, get the salary cap back in order, and maybe acquire some draft capital to build this and hit the ground running. And but that wasn't necessarily just a plan at the end of the year, but that was something that we've kind of planned previous to that.
Thanks.
Thank you, Gene. We'll go over to Mark Long.
Hi, Dave.
Hi, Mark.
Neighbors are getting a lawn mowed here. I'm sorry. Apologies. I came in a little late. You started a couple minutes early. You're still on Coughlin time. But is it your belief that Jan changing agents will help you guys get him back in the building?
I don't have a feel for that one way or the other. I think, like I said earlier, and you missed it because you were late. But I'm gonna not speak for Jan out of respect for him. He's earned the right. He played his contract out. He played 4 years, and he's earned the right to do what's best for him and his family. And obviously, he's a guy that we know what he brings to the table. His coaches love him. His teammates love him. We all, we love his energy. The fan base loves him. So, ideally, we would love to have him here, but I'll let him speak on his behalf of what's going on. And I know he's making some calculated decisions. So.
And then secondly, real quick, do you look at it as bad luck in terms of this is the year you guys decided to kind of blow things up to some degree, and you go really, really young, and you got 12 rookies, and then, everything hits, and you can't have the offseason that you normally would have had to get all these guys to develop?
No, I don't consider it bad luck. And I think these young guys, I'll be honest with you, this rookie class, and I give our coaching staff a lot of credit for how they've handled this first couple of weeks. We were one of the few teams that stuck with 90 players, and they were out on the practice field doing walkthroughs with the rookies, and we had to do a split squad with the rookies and the veterans, and they're out doing double time. And these rookies have gotten a lot of reps, and it's been a really good class in terms of them being on point with their responsibilities and picking up the playbook. And that's been encouraging. And so I think they're all going to be just fine. And they're on the same level as every other team's rookies. And I guess I would take a little bit of fact that we didn't just blow it up. We feel like that we did make some moves where we can be a equal to, or if not a better team than we were last year.
Glad you could join us, Mark. Let's go over to Mia and then John.
Apologies, blowing it up.
Man, what kind of
Coughlin time, the way to be, right? Hey, hi, how's it going, Dave? Just curious. Number of opt-outs you guys had versus opt-outs you've seen across the league. Is it on par to what you anticipated? And obviously, none of us know what tomorrow will bring, let alone a few weeks from now. But do you foresee players, emotionally, maybe, wondering if maybe they should have opted out, or, what's kind of the general feeling you've gotten in your building and from other GMs?
Well, the way I felt about it is when a player started asking about it and questioning about it, this isn't a game that you can be 85% at, or, to go through a season, and you have to be 100% committed. And when some of the players started questioning, and I felt they were going down that road, and I had some good conversations with them, and everybody has their own reasons, and you have to respect their reasons. Is, if the last thing I wanted to do is have a player come in and not be 100% in, and with what we're doing and get hurt or something else happens. So the guys that opted out, I don't think it was a huge surprise, and knowing their situations. And, I respect that. And I think the guys we have here have done a tremendous job. And not only from a player standpoint, but from an organizational standpoint in terms of our ICO and our medical staff. And, we came in and we had probably one of the larger numbers of players on the COVID IR list, and our medical staff and our players really did a good job of social distancing and, reporting, and the contact tracing has been really impeccable. So I think our players are starting to get a comfort level, and like we all are, and it's kind of a new normal. So I'm excited about the progress we've made and all facets of that.
Are you, especially, I know we kind of touched on it, like seeing college football, do you get nervous?
What do you mean, do I get nervous?
In regards to, a week ago, we're talking about the Power Fives releasing their schedule, and suddenly a week later, now there's talk of them postponing the season. So does that get you nervous for your season?
Yeah, I mean, it does. Not necessarily in our season. I think it's two different situations, and the protocols at the NFL and the resources that we have in the NFL with the NFLPA and how we're handling our business. You got to give a lot of credit to the league office and the PA and the plan they've put together. And you can really see it working on a day-to-day basis when you come into the building. So no, I feel confident we're going to have football, and and in our building, we like to think everybody's taking care of their business and doing the right thing. So hopefully that continues throughout the league. As far as the college go, obviously you feel bad for the athletes and guys that have put so much work into it, and they have to make their own decisions, obviously.
Sweet. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mia. Let's go over to John Reed and then John Shipley.
How you doing, Dave? Got two questions for you. First one is, how do you feel overall right now about your defensive front? You had to make some changes with Al Woods and a couple of the injuries situation, obviously you can't do nothing about. But what do you feel? It looked like you went out and got experience, and that you needed to get more experience to work with those young guys. And overall, just what is your thought process about that unit?
Well, obviously, when you lose some depth before you even start your first practice, it's a little bit of a concern. And guys like Al Woods and Rodney, for this point in time, is out for a period of time. Are guys that, and Dontavius Russell. So those guys we're counting on. I think those guys are hard to find as it is, and it's hard to find at this point in time. We feel like the guys we brought in can come in and compete and do a good job. I have a lot of confidence in Coach Marone and our coaching staff and Todd Walsh and our D-line coach that they'll develop the guys we have, and we do have some guys and some young guys that have a lot of good traits. So I think our coaching staff's on top of it, and we'll get good production out of that defensive front.
It's a good question, Dave. What sold you on this kid, LaVisca? Were you immediately sold from just the stuff you saw on the game tape from Colorado? Or, he's put out a video this summer about grabbing a one-handed catch downfield, and just seems like he's got a lot of skills. What can you talk about, and what sold you? What do you expect for a kid that got that much talent look like?
Well, what really sold us is the 2018 college tape, and our scouts did a really good job evaluating him this time of year last year. before his college season, and he had tremendous tape. And probably if he would have came out that year, he may have been, if not the top receiver, one of the top 2 receivers. And then he goes through his season in 19, and he wasn't 100%, got banged up in training camp, and really didn't have as good of a year. But when you do the research, you realize that here's a guy that wasn't playing 100% throughout his 2019 season and still battled through it. And really, you grew to like the kid because of his pain tolerance and his toughness and his competitiveness and how much he loved ball. And then you put that together with what he did in 2018, and you feel like you got a guy that you can really count on and is going to really come in and make a difference for you.
Thank you, John. We got time for a couple more. Let's go to John Shipley and then Jordan.
Okay, thanks. Hey, Dave.
Hey,
Yesterday, Coach Marone talked about how he thinks maybe, the staff didn't help Taven Bryan much early in his career by moving him around so much, but he's felt comfortable with the steps he's taken since then. You kind of have the same evaluation. Do you feel good with the trajectory that Taven is on?
I do. And that's the thing that I know I've talked to a bunch of you guys about, just the development of rookies is you expect these guys to come in from year one and just hit the ground running, and they all develop at a different pace and different time. And when Taven came in, we had, really good players at those positions, and we were just trying to get him some reps. I saw a difference when we put him at the 3 technique, our defensive tackle position, and just let him play those. And around week 5, week 6 last year, you saw a different player, and he continued to get better. And you look at the game grades, and a lot of credit goes to our defensive line coach and Coach Wash and how they developed him. And going all the way to the end of the season, he kept getting, if you look at the grades from Rebs, he got better. Every week it was better to the last game of the season where he played his best football.
All right. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, John. Let's go to Jordan.
Hey, Dave. Thanks for doing this. How do you feel about your 2 starting safeties in Ronnie Harrison and Jared Wilson? And do you expect Daniel Thomas to be able to push either of them for a starting job in 2020?
Yeah, that's a fair question. I think our 2 guys are solid. I think last year was our first year starting together as a tandem. And I think we expect them to, with a full off season and playing together for another year in the system, we expect those 2 guys to get better. And we like the depth behind them between Andrew Wingard and Daniel Thomas. And Daniel will push. He's a tough guy. He's a smart guy, and he's been on point so far. So we feel like he'll probably make an immediate impact on special teams, and then maybe fight for some playing time as the season goes on.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks, Jordan.
Thank you, Jordan. Let's do 2 final questions here. Let's go to Brian Sexton, and then we'll finish up with D-Rock.
Hey, Dave. Curious if you would agree with the sentiment that the teams that handle all this distraction and all the COVID protocols give themselves a chance at leveling the playing field. There's a thought out there that a team that handles this well can overcome some of their roster challenges and find a way to be more competitive. Do you think this levels the playing field for teams that handle it well?
Short answer?
Yeah, any answer.
No. No, in all seriousness, football is a game. You have to be able to handle distractions, and every team goes through distractions. And part of our job is try to limit those distractions for our players. And, what the protocols that we put in place, Cassie, our ICO, and Scott Trulock have done a tremendous job to try to eliminate those distractions from our players so they could just come in and focus on football and doing their job. Ultimately, you still have to have the ability to compete and talent, and guys have to produce and complete the fundamentals and execute properly. So it's no different than waking up and having a personal distraction and coming to work on a daily basis. We all deal with it, and adversity makes us stronger.
One more. I read where J.J. Watt talked about what he liked about camp so far, how the changes have worked to him. Older player, more time in the hotel. Anything about the change procedures, how different this is this summer that you found that you like, that you might want to keep?
Like I said earlier, with our rookies practicing by themselves and coming in and kind of gelling together as a group, and our coaches doing a lot of one-on-one individual stuff with those guys, I think really helped. And I think Coach Marone and coaching staff put together a really good plan for those rookies. And we even talked about maybe keeping them separate, for years to come.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, Brian. There's a couple mentions of ICO, and that's for Infection Control Officer, just for everyone's knowledge. Let's go to D-Rock for the final question.
Hey, Dave, outside of, the protocols for, the COVID and coming into the facility and getting the tests and all that stuff, what has been maybe the biggest challenge that this has presented to you in terms of what you normally do with your day-to-day job? But like I said, outside of like the testing and all that other stuff.
Sure. This thing right here, this tracking device is when I go outside to work out, or if I take a shower, I feel like I'm about 60% about putting it on. So but luckily when I have forgot to put it on, I haven't come in contact with anybody. So either people think I've been sitting in my office too long, or but I have to find a way to make sure I'm 100% with this. And that's been my biggest challenge. But outside of that, just there hasn't really been much, the coming in and being able to get tested every day. It's a sense of relief for me waking up every morning knowing that I tested negative, and I can go home to my family and my parents or my in-laws when they come into town, knowing that I still have to socially distance, but I'm not putting them at any additional risk.
Do you think not a lot of teams have 4 locker rooms like you guys have here at TIAA Bank Field? Do you feel like you're maybe a little bit better equipped to handle some of that social distancing stuff, and especially in terms of the locker room, the players, than maybe other teams, just because of the situation you have here?
Yeah, well, some teams have multiple locker rooms too. Teams that practice out of their stadium and maybe share their stadium with college teams. But I would say that it does help, and not only in the locker room, but our dining facility, as you guys all know, is very open air. It's very spacious. We've been able to spread out for our players to eat without being close to each other, and staff, and we have a lot of space here, and it's been really fortunate at this point in time.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, D-Rock. Thank you, Dave. We'll plan to have Caldwell available for reduction around September 5th. We'll see everybody in about an hour for player availability. It's going to be the same link as this one.